Boston firefighters just came here to 14 Olmsted Street to fight a huge fire, and the heat was the problem, not more of the flames. Falmouth has already gotten 4 inches of rain with winds gusting up to 50 miles per hour, and we're expecting coastal floodings all across the Cape. CPR can be a difficult life-saving procedure, but now there's an iPhone app that can help guide you through the process. The whole point of today's event is to get girls' interest in science to grow and bubble,
and more green or pink sheets anywhere, folks.
And maybe even burst into something more. Hundreds gathered out here today to protest against possible budget cuts at the Boston City Schools headquarters. Boston firefighters just came here to 14 Olmsted Street to fight a huge fire, and the heat was the problem, not more of the flames.
Because of the nature of the building, an old Victorian, it takes extra effort to try to extinguish those type fires, because even if you put a couple holes in the roof, which is why we have these ladders, you can't put enough holes in the roof to ventilate all the spaces.
Deputy Chief Jay Fleming struck 4 alarms because of how this home contained the fire's heat. He needed the extra manpower to cool it down, and it was co-homeowner Priscilla Ellis who made the first call for help.
I heard the alarm in my neighbor's side going off, and then I smelled smoke. And so I walked around and I saw coming out of the second floor window, I think in their bedroom, smoke, and the glass was breaking and cracking, and clearly there was a fire in there.
Ellis and her husband raised their children here, and they've lived here for over 30 years. The family and neighbors are relieved that no one got hurt, but everyone is sad for this loss.
The dollar loss was about $350,000, but we don't think it's suspicious, and it just got a head start because the people weren't home.
Boston firefighters are now wrapping up, and they prevented the flames from spreading to other homes. But this house didn't do so well. I'm Meaghan Corson, reporting. Protesters don't want Boston schools to suffer any more cuts.
It's not just 1 year and one amount. Every year when you cut, it multiplies. We need the funds so that the children can get the education they deserve.
It's supposed to be focused on the children. We clean these buildings for our children every day.
David Jelly is the president of the Boston Schools Custodians, and he's worried about his coworkers.
A bunch of them will be homeless, and about 25% of those members have children in the Boston Public Schools.
Jelly has already seen 10% of his coworkers lose their jobs, and last year these custodians took a wage freeze in good faith that there would be minimal cuts this year.
People who are making $300,000 a year are cutting guys who are making $50,000 a year. I don't see any of them taking cuts.
We're here to say loudly that this is unacceptable.
Protesters want the Boston School Committee to think hard when voting on next year's budget. City Councilor Felix Arroyo says overtime budget issues need to be addressed and reserves need to be examined.
The rainy day fund, as we like to call it sort of on the street, the reserve money, and whether or not it's responsible to use that in these situations.
And it is an absolute disgrace if this city doesn't find the rainy day money you need, because guess what, it's poor.
The budget proposal is set to cut nearly $60 million from the upcoming school year. No teaching positions are expected to be removed, but if this is approved, over 100 custodial jobs will be cut. I'm Meaghan Corson, reporting. Today was a reminder that science isn't just for boys.
Most people think that science is really a boy thing, and it was fun just to see all the girls.
I think it's a great opportunity for young girls to see the older girls as mentors.
Really what Science Club for Girls is about is showing girls that they too can be successful in STEM.
Make the learning process part of that so that they understand, why you got the different reactions you got with the different things that they were demonstrating on the tables, or even to be able to look through a microscope.
This event actually gives them the opportunity to see those different things, whereas normally they wouldn't get those opportunities to see all the different areas of science.
For so long, girls have been so underrepresented in sciences, and we think that exposing girls at a young age to science and showing them that, yes, they can do it.
Imogen Klein wants to continue these experiments with her mother.
I think I'd like to do some of the experiments we did here at home.
So for parents, it's an eye-opener as well. They're all things that you've got in the cupboard at home that you didn't realise that you could be doing a science experiment with your children.
The hands-on activities were key to the learning process.
If you touch something or you hear something, you see something, I think if you engage all the senses, it just helps you remember things better.
The whole point of today's event is to get girls' interest in science to grow and bubble,
Anyone green or pink sheets anywhere, folks?
And maybe even burst into something more.
And they just want the knowledge, and once they're exposed to it just a little bit, they just want to know more.
I think it's going to create a whole new generation of girls who are stronger, who don't feel limited in their choices on what they can be when they grow older.
Science Club for Girls is currently establishing more locations in the greater Boston area. Reporting in Boston, I'm Meaghan Corson. The Boston art scene is alive and well. While there is art in every area of the city, one hotspot is the South End. The South End houses a number of galleries and artisan boutiques. And I took a look inside a building that was full of artists who are showing their work.
When you're coming in and you come into a studio like this, you can smell the paint, you can see the color, you can see the texture and light of all the paintings.
John Ganella is talking about First Fridays. The SOA Artists Guild opens up their studios on the first Friday of every month to the public, and Ganella is proud to share his work.
Much of the work is reminiscent of the 30s and 40s and advertising art that was really current and common during those times. But I try and sort of bring it to life in a very different perspective.
Many artists like to gain the public's perspectives of their work.
It's always really wonderful because you never know who's going to walk through the door, and I usually take those First Fridays to test various pieces that I'm working on to see what their reactions are.
Natalie Maibach has to test her art because it's quite unique.
I use weather data and translate that into three-dimensional sculpture and woven installations. So everything in the studio in here, even though it looks very colorful and it is very reminiscent of toys, it's actually all driven by data.
She's happy to start her art career in Boston.
I think it's a great place to begin your career because you're not one of thousands like in New York. You can get recognized pretty quickly, and it's a very close-knit community.
The next First Friday at SOA's Art Galleries is December 3rd. Be sure to check out what Boston's artists create next. Reporting live in Boston, I'm Meaghan Corson.